Let's talk more about the scourge of gender-based violence in this country on the back of the release of the latest crime statistics. We're joined tonight by gender activist Lebo Ramafoko. Ms. Ramafoko, a very good evening to you. Welcome to News at Prime. So 903 fewer rape cases reported at the end of 2021 compared to the same period in the previous year. Is it encouraging at all?
I think the answer is somewhere in between, because when we say there is a reduction, we need to ask ourselves a few questions. And the first one is it a reduction in incidents or is it a reduction in reporting? And it is not very clear. And I think the reason why it is not clear is because we know that only 25% of cases get through the criminal justice system. So what we maybe see is that there are a number of women, and we do know from qualitative research done with women that for many reasons they may not have gone out and reported the cases. So when a case is not reported, it's very obvious that the Minister of Police would not know that that rape case has occurred. And we do know the number of reasons and the reasons that women have given for not reporting. Some of them are around the stigma that is associated with rape. Another one, which I think may have played a factor in people maybe reducing the number of reports or going out to report, is that if you are really dependent on the person who has raped you, because as you can see with the statistics that were reported, a lot of these rapes happen at homes. Now, if you are financially dependent on somebody or even married to somebody who has been raping you, you are most likely not going to report if you've lost your job. And we know how COVID has really ravaged people's lives. So I think that before we can say it is a reduction in actual cases, we need to actually say it is a reduction in reporting, and then do a number of studies and really to see, is this a real drop because rape as a crime is going down, or is there a drop in reporting, or is there something in between?
And it's not a real drop in rape, because the decrease, it's only a decrease when you compare the end of 2021 to the end of 2020. But in fact, it's an increase quarter on quarter, because in the period to September 2021, this country had 9,556 people who reported being raped between July and September. And now we're sitting with just above 11,000 for October to December. So it's in fact an increase if you look at a 6-month period.
Yes, indeed. And I think you are pointing out to something very significant around, if you look at what is happening in this year, there is an increase, and it is worrying. I guess my response goes to what Minister Cele said in the statement, which seemed to suggest that raising awareness is helping with rape. And I'm saying before we can make such bold claims, we need to do and compare the rape statistics. I mean, rape statistics are important, or crime statistics are important, but they don't tell the full story, particularly when it gets to rape. And we have seen that even the law allows that years after a woman has been raped, they can go and report the case. So, you know, the picture is there, but I don't think we can read too much into what is now being called a reduction. There is a less number when you compare the reports of rape in 2020 to 2021. There is less numbers of reported cases. Is this a reduction? I think the answer is not known. I don't even think that the Minister of Police know, and it will require a lot of more tests that we are going to compare, triangulate, etc., to say, is this a real reduction?
So of the 11,315 rapes reported between October and December 2021, more than 5,000 of those rapes took place at either the home of the victim or the attacker, which comes to the point you were making earlier about how people in this country, women in the main, are raped by people they know. And that speaks to the layer you were just referring to about how that then complicates the reporting itself, because often there's a relationship where these are people who either live together, they're married, or there's a dependence financially and the rest of it. How do we begin to untangle that?
Well, I mean, I think I'm glad that the minister, and that is a positive, even shared the numbers, and we are having the kind of reporting that actually can tell us where the rape occurred, because I think in the past that wasn't the case. So we are seeing an improvement in the reporting, and we must credit the minister for that. But what that does is that it, as you say, and as activists have always said, rape is not perpetuated by a stranger out there. This is about sexual cohesion. It is about violence that happens in people's homes. And I think that is why it makes it so difficult to police, because we are talking about a number of factors that happens in homes. And we have seen, for an example, with the statutory rape statistics that in this country we like calling teenage pregnancy, that sexual cohesion happens a lot in South African homes. And while the minister is saying that there is great awareness about it, I think that there are other interventions that we are going to ask ourselves whether or not they are basically happening in the homes. We saw, for an example, with hard lockdown, that it was NGOs that were removing women who were in real serious danger in their homes. We saw how many women, not only in South Africa, but globally, were reporting increased numbers of violence in the home. So we need to look outside of reporting, which must increase. And when women report, they must get the kind of support that they need. But what we must also ask ourselves is what can happen in our communities, in the homes, that can prevent this violence from happening in the first place.
Let's speak about the women who could not report because they were killed. 902 women were murdered in this country between October and December 2021. 232 of those murders were the result of domestic violence. How much longer can we continue on this course?
Well, I think it does really support the fact that women live in fear, and they live in fear in their own homes. And even that statistic, for me, I want to unpack it to say, for those that were not killed in their own homes, how many of them were killed by people that they knew, and how many of those were killed by intimate partners? Certainly what we have seen in the news that has been reported, you see the nurse in Tembisa, it was a boyfriend. So that nurse, if you are counting statistics, and one would have to get into those statistics to really read them, she did not die in the home. So she could not have been counted as dying in the home because she died at work, but she was definitely killed by her partner. So I think one of the things that we would need to do, even with those that did not die in the home, is to then go into the stats and basically say how many of those, all of that number, were killed by their partners, and what it is telling us about those statistics, and what it is that, for an example, with this case of the nurse that was killed by their police boyfriend, is telling us about what is happening even with people who are employed, people who one would think that they've got resources to seek help, but they are not seeking help.
Let's end on something that the minister seemed to find quite encouraging in the release of the crime stats today. That is the establishment of the Gender-Based Violence Desk. He said about 381 police stations now have GBV desks. 91,000 plus police officers have been trained in victim empowerment, domestic violence and sexual offences related programs. Is that a potential game changer, the game changer that we need?
I think it is a step in the right direction. But I think we are going to have to give it a lot more time to see whether or not the training and the capacity that the police have basically helps in dealing with gender-based violence. And I'm saying that because a lot of women, apart from this special desks that the minister is talking about, when women enter the police station, they basically speak about the very same toxic masculinity that they face in their communities, that they face in their homes, being displayed by the police. The LGBTIQ community will tell you the same thing. So it is a step in the right direction to have desks. But I think for me, a police service that works in South Africa, yes, you want a specialized unit, but if I walk into any police station in this country, whether or not it's got that desk, you know, I must be treated by a police person, whether a male or a female, who understands my rights, who understands what it means for me as a woman to be violated in whatever, and who treats me in a particular case. So for an example, some of the things that make a difference is when women walk into a police station, either a small police station or a busy police station or a police station in a rural area, and there is no privacy, and this woman has just been raped. So how do you ensure that whoever it is that this woman is going to face as the first person, even if they are not on that desk? Because what has happened before is that sometimes there is this desk, but when somebody who has been specially trained to man this desk or give women this attention, when they are not there, everybody else does not know what to do. So we need to move to a point where, first and foremost, some of the reports of the way women have been treated by the police generally, the Minister of Police needs to talk about that. Yes, it is a step in the right direction to have a desk, but in a lot of cases, when you isolate and you train a few people and you are not reorientating the entire police service to know how to deal with gender-based violence, when a woman does not find that person in the desk, the entire police station may be so hostile that a woman doesn't even feel like they can go in. You can imagine walking into a very busy police station and you are called at the desk and there's so many other people and you need to basically be saying, I have been raped or my husband did this to me. You know, how is that going to work? So how are we going over and above having this special desk, making sure that the entire environment in all police stations support women who have been raped?
Lebo Ramafoko, always great to speak to you. Lebo is a gender activist speaking to us on the back of the release of the latest crime statistics. Thank you for your time, ma'am.